Okay, we are recording. We are going to start in 3, 2, 1. Hi there. Welcome back to the Beauty Birds podcast, where we talk all things beauty, makeup, influencers, industry, and everything in between. We is Tara, my glorious co-host, the brains and the beauty behind Simply Terrible on Instagram, and me, Becca, who you can also find on Instagram at Becca and Eggs for all things lunch, lipstick, and library books.
And I'm in Pittsburgh and Becca is in Austin, but despite our long distance friendship and being complete opposites in the beauty world, we are the go-tos for pretty much everyone we know, whether it is makeup, skincare, what brand screwed up this time, and is that product you got actually safe to put on your face?
On that note, what's on your face today, Tara?
You know, nothing exciting for the most part, but I am wearing the Sugar Pill Fun Size palette because you wore it last time and I love it so much too that I just couldn't
It's a good
resist.
one.
And
It's a really
it
good
is
one.
amazing. And like I've been on a pastels spiral lately, and it honestly hits all the markers for me because like you've seen like Huda is coming out with so many pastel palettes and color
Mm-hmm.
pop, but like this one has it all. I don't know, I love it.
I'm into it.
And also I am wearing my favorite eyebrow pencil, Ardell, you know, like the lash brand. They
Mm-hmm.
have some other things. This one's called Stroke a Brow, and it's like an eyebrow marker where you can make like fine hair strokes
Yes.
with a marker. I love it. I used to use ABH brow gels, and like I've gone through almost every brow product possible to like find it, and this is it.
I love the brow marker pen, like felt tip liner type formula. And you have
Yeah.
been talking about this Ardell thing for ages. I
Well,
think I'm going to have to pick it up because I'm just about out of my marker.
so this was the first brow marker I've tried, and so maybe there are better ones, but like this one's only $7.99 and it works so well for me that why would I try like Lime Crime's 20 and like Urban Decay has one for like 20. This just works.
That's what I got. It's the double-ended Urban Decay
Yeah.
brow blade. It's great, but why? I mean, you can't argue with $7.99.
Right? All right, what's on your face?
Um, Not a ton. I'm kind of having a day. Makeup today is super light. However, I'm super excited because this just arrived. It's the new Smith & Colt lip balm. Ingredient trends in products is probably going to be its own episode, but this is the Locked and Lit CBD lip balm in clear. I
Lit.
bought it because Instagrammer Haley Barber told me to, and I got really excited because it's soy free, which I'm allergic to, and I'm quite into it today.
Yeah, Smith Cult's one of those brands that's just like beautiful. They have like gorgeous packaging.
I thought that they were always quite hard to find, but apparently you can buy this on Ulta.
Heck yeah.
And I'm also wearing the NARS Power Matte Liquid Lipstick in Light My Fire.
Nice.
So what are we talking about today?
We are talking about product names specifically. So this is how the tangent started. We're talking about product names that what make me just want to jump out, like crawl out of my own skin and like leave Earth for a minute, because there are so many products that just make me cringe so much. And we were talking about it last week after we finished recording, just like names that are just like, why did you have to name it that? Like now I don't want to tell anybody what this lip gloss is called. So yeah, we're gonna dive into what are we calling it? Sex, drugs, and
Sex, drugs, and racism. We took a little twist on rock. Who needs rock and roll when you have racism?
oh god.
I was gonna say let's jump into the sex. So, while, for example, in our drugs category, I think most people would agree that drug glorification is objectively not a great thing, whereas the cringy sex-related names are a bit more subjective. It's more of I don't know. It really bothers me. I
What?
think it kind of perpetuates the stereotype that women who are into makeup can't also be intelligent. Um, it makes me really uncomfortable because, like, I don't want to tell my grandma that I'm wearing a blush called Orgasm.
Yeah.
And I mean, we know that sex sells, but it's not like the most interesting thing in the world. And I just feel like we could do better.
Yeah. Does it also kind of perpetuate the stereotype that women wear makeup for men too? Because it's like, well, if you wear this, you'll get that.
For sure. I mean, you can't win. If you don't wear makeup, you're unattractive. And if you do wear makeup, men say that they like it better when you don't, even though most of them don't know what it looks like to not be wearing makeup.
I think what we've learned is that men love barely their makeup.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
not necessarily minimal, but like a natural look. The
A
kind that's
natural
like,
look.
I'm wearing 30 products to make it look like I'm not wearing any makeup.
Yeah.
That look.
Sex names just, ugh, God.
Let's talk about some really terrible ones and some long-running classics that have been around forever and that are still just as cringe as they were when they came out.
Yeah, I'll start. So the first one on our list is the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. I kind of wrote down on this one that it's one of the more accepted sex names because, like, at this point, everyone has heard of it for the most part, and like that's just one of those phrases that people do say here and there. It's not like some of the more intense ones that we're going to get to. So, like, I don't love it. I've personally never even tried the mascara, but like this
It's
one,
terrible. It's a
good.
terrible mascara.
But this one doesn't make me want to like jump out of my skin and like teleport somewhere else when someone asks what it's called.
I don't like the better than sex line. The first thing that comes to mind is always, if this mascara is better than sex, you're doing something very wrong.
Yeah.
Also, it's just, in my experience, really not a great product. Like, it flakes. It's always all over my face. I've tried it a couple of times. It's a super dry formula. Also, what you don't want during sex.
Oh
But
God.
they went and made it worse because they
Yes,
came
they did.
out with a liquid eyeliner in the same product category that is called the Too Faced Better Than Sex Easy Glide.
Ew.
I just, like, I don't want to tell people that that's what's on my face.
Yeah, no, that is too much. They took it one step too far with that.
I also feel like it's kind of just jumping on their own bandwagon now. Like, Better Than
Yeah.
Sex has been around for so long, and if they had released a couple of products in that like collection together, it would make more sense. But
Yeah.
now it's like, many years later, oh, here's another disturbing product name for you.
Yeah.
What,
Do you want to do the next one?
yeah, one that's been actually around for a long time. I don't know. This one is obviously sexual, but it doesn't bother me nearly as much as Tarte Sex Kitten.
Yeah, that one I don't love. And like I wouldn't love telling like a coworker what it was called, but ah,
It's the glitter eyeshadow, right?
yes.
Like, I think maybe it's just been around for so long, and there's so many other things that are so much worse that it like
I,
doesn't register anymore as being a particularly cringe one.
yeah, I think it's more so that there's so many worse ones because I'm looking at the list of like things that just are the most cringe, and those have been around forever. And they still like every day, I'm just like, I wish you didn't name it that.
Yeah, so we came up with this list. Some of it we knew off the top of our heads, but I actually just sat down on the Sephora website and like went through a couple different brands that I knew were particularly guilty of this. And wow, some of them are far worse than I even realized. You want to talk about NARS or Charlotte Tilbury next?
Let's get into Charlotte Tilbury. We're still warming up to NARS.
Charlotte Tilbury is an interesting one because it's definitely marketed as a more luxury brand. I think
Yeah.
she helped Tom Ford set up his like product line, something like that. The packaging is, well, it's actually all made of plastic and it's crappy, but it looks very luxurious. Her
It
prices are quite
does.
expensive.
They are.
And so when I saw these product names, it kind of took me by surprise.
I didn't even know about so the first one is Sex on Fire.
I think both Sex on Fire and the other one that we have written down is The Climax
Oh
are
God.
two of her blushes, which is actually even funnier because if you've ever seen the packaging, it looks like a boob. Like, it looks like a nipple. It's like two colors of powder in a circle. So there's like a small circle in the middle and then a
Oh, I know what you're
darker
talking
color
about.
on the outside, or maybe the lighter colors on the outside. I don't remember, but it looks like a nipple basically.
So Sex on Fire kind of immediately just reminded me of Kings of Leon instead of like sex, I guess. But that one's so they both just are so off brand for Charlotte Tilbury because you think of things like Hollywood Flawless Filter and you know things like that and it's like, oh, luxurious old Hollywood. That's what I picture when I picture Charlotte Tilbury,
I think
not the
even
climax.
like, I think her most famous lipstick and like lip pencil is called Pillow Talk.
Yeah,
But even that like makes me think more of like old Hollywood and that general style of the
exactly.
brand. And on the note of Sex on Fire, if sex makes you feel like you're on fire, please go see a doctor. Yeah. Don't, that's not okay. That's not how that's supposed to be. Yeah, not super into that one. And then NARS, I also think it's kind of a weird one, even though those products have been around for years, like way before makeup was a big part of my life.
Yeah, same.
But it's
Uh,
such a sleek, like sleek black packaging. It's really it feels really high end. It feels like what people are wearing on the runway. That's like the air that it gives off. And then they went and named a couple blushes Orgasm and Deep Throat. And just why?
yeah, no, the name slaps you in the face after seeing the product where you're like, oh, how beautiful. It's like got that like soft matte feel to it,
Mm-hmm.
like that beautiful like glam. And then you see the name and it's just like these are the ones that like when you said sex names I thought of that just make me want to explode with like embarrassment if I ever had to tell anybody. I mailed you mine. So my NARS orgasm. Ulta
Yeah,
gave it away as like a freebie.
I think I
I
have it
actually
somewhere.
I don't like it. It doesn't really work with my skin too well because I'm more of like an olive tone, but like not if it wasn't called that, I might have hung on to it longer to be like, well, I can make it work maybe as eyeshadow or something. But like, I am repulsed by that brand and their names.
It's a pretty cringe one. And like, that would never be enough to stop me from truly buying a great product. But for like, NARS Orgasm is one of those blushes that everybody's like, oh, it's a universal shade and it's good for everyone. It's not. It's
There's no
not good for
universal shade.
everyone. It's not a universal shade. And for like a kind of just okay, very expensive blush, that I'm not here for that name. I'm
Yeah,
not
were
here
we
for it.
joking? I forgot what brand it was, but we were talking about an indie brand that just has like a god awful name. And we were saying like if somebody asked us what it was, we would just say, I don't know, some indie brand. I don't really remember it.
I remember, I don't want to call them out though. They make really cool stuff and I think
Yeah,
they're
they do
based
make
in
really
Australia. But maybe we should send them an Instagram message and be like, guys, have you considered changing your name?
to
Because
anything else.
this makes me not want to buy those beautiful eyeshadows you guys have.
But yeah, I think the same goes for like deep throat. If I was wearing that and someone asked me what it was, like let's say my mom, my mother-in-law, a coworker, anybody other than like people I sit on my couch with and drink with, you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna tell them what it is. I'm gonna be like, oh, you know what? It's some blush. I think I got it at Ulta. I don't really remember what it was called.
Yeah, I just feel like maybe it's good marketing in that people are talking about it, but it's not good marketing in that I don't want to buy and wear it because I don't want
Yeah,
to tell people that that's what I'm wearing. And
yeah.
for the record, I don't think either of us are particularly prudish. Like,
No.
I don't have a problem talking about sex. I don't like those things don't offend me. I just don't want to tell my grandma that that's what's on my face. I don't want to tell my boss. I don't want to tell like the sweet girl at the checkout line who's like, "Oh my god, I love your lipstick." Like, I don't want to tell you that it's called something
Right?
gross.
What's it called? Deep throat. It's like, Jesus, calm down. That's not what we're here for.
Urban Decay is pretty guilty of that, specifically with lipstick. I think they have a red one called Gash. To some people, maybe just makes you think of an open wound.
Time
Nope.
out. Devin just got home and the door slamming woke Marshall.
All right. Well, while Tara does some mom things, maybe now is a good time to talk about our very exciting sponsor. We do have a sponsor this week. I'm super pumped about it. We got lucky in that it's not only a great organization, but also one that I'm, for lack of better words, pretty emotional about. Our sponsor today is the Born Again Pipple Rescue. It's actually on my t-shirt. BAPBR, or the Born Again Pipple Rescue, is based out of Sherwood, Oregon, not far from where Nick and I used to live. It was founded in 2007. It's a small private rescue run by a woman named Angela, who is a goddess among us mere mortals. They do a lot of courtesy postings for small and rural shelters who don't get a lot of traction. They provide a lot of assistance with placement and fosters. And they also have, it's called the Meximut Project, where they work on spaying, neutering, and providing flea and worm prevention to stray dogs in Mexico. For those of you that don't know, pit bulls are the most common breed in American shelters. They're also the most legislated against, meaning certain states and certain cities won't let you have a pit bull type dog. Some apartment buildings will say that you can't have them. And as such, they're also the most euthanized. So part of the reason that Born Again Pitbull Rescue and Angela are so important to me and my family is that Angela helped us so much when Nick and I adopted Franklin a couple years ago. Franklin is our dog. He's 75% American Staffordshire Terrier and then a little bit American Bulldog. And we found him on Pet Finder because of Angela, because of her posting. He was in a tiny freezing shelter off the coast of Oregon. Like, we never would have known that he even existed. He'd been there for like over 2 years, I think. And she was instrumental in helping us with the whole adoption process and bringing him home. She answered so many of my frantic emails in the first couple days, and I've done a lot of work with them over the last couple years to make sure that they can continue doing that work and helping keep dogs out of shelters, get them placed with foster families, keep dogs out of high kill shelters, and just she's doing great stuff. If you want to see some of the work that she's doing, you can check them out at bapbr.org. She's also on Instagram at bapbr. And if you'd like to provide a donation, which would be fantastic, she does them on Facebook a lot, and you can kind of choose what it's going to, if it's going to go to the Mexi Mutt Project or a particular dog. But you can Venmo them at bapbr, and we'll also include Instagram, Facebook, PayPal links, everything in the blog post for this episode. Just let Angela know that the Beauty Bird sent you. And we're back. Babies and dogs have been taken care of and sorted, and now we can get back to our very adult conversation. I think we were just getting into the terrible names that Urban Decay has in our disturbing sex category. The one that really makes me want to crawl out of my skin is Gash, which I think is like a deep red lipstick. For a lot of people, probably most Americans, when they hear Gash, they think of a wound.
Yeah.
But I believe it is also common slang in the UK for vagina.
Oh, see, I didn't know that one.
And it makes me deeply uncomfortable. I don't want to put it on my lips.
No, I'm uncomfortable now too. Yeah, that one's terrible. Virgin and perversion.
Yeah. Perversion is, I think they have a mascara and an eyeliner now, and it's just like a super deep black.
Yeah.
It's actually a good product.
I've used the mascara. They also have a primer that goes with it, like a mascara primer.
Oh, wow. They went all out for that. Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst. I mean, it's not even the worst for Urban Decay, but just why?
Right? Why?
When I think of like the blackest black that like you could possibly want, I don't think of perversion.
Yeah, I also think with things like mascara, like you don't have to go there with your naming, or like just black eyeliners, like you don't have to take it there. We will accept just calling it black, or we'll accept just calling it like, I don't know, smoky or something like that. Like you don't have to take it somewhere where it's like a shock factor, or like, I don't know, it's not that.
I mean, I guess along the lines of NARS and stuff, it's good in that it makes people talk about the product, but like actually if you just had a good product, that would be great. That's all I want. Just have a good product. You can say that it's just black. That's
in fact,
fine.
like on that thought process, like I don't think I've ever once gossiped with my friends about names that were like, oh my God, how shocking, have you heard? Instead, it's more like, oh my God, have you tried this? It's really good. So like the naming thing might work for some people, but I feel like not everybody, or like not even half of everybody is like, oh my God, have you heard? How crazy of them. You should try it.
I think for a lot of people, guessing maybe teens and younger adults who are probably shopping with a relative maybe, or asking for gifts for holidays or like whatever, birthdays, and perhaps also some older people who are shopping at Sephora or whatever, like they're probably skipping over products that are called that.
Oh, you want to hear something funny? My mother-in-law got me Urban Decay perversion for Christmas.
All right, she's an exception. I mean, I was actually talking to my mom that we were going to record this episode, and I told her about NARS orgasm deep throat, and she was like, well, good for them. But like, sex is great. Like, we want everything to be like sex positive and consensual, but like I'm gonna bet that there are people out there, particularly in the great state of Texas where I now live, where people are getting their panties up in a bunch about these names and are not buying them for that reason.
Yeah, and that's not even like the most conservative of people. Like my panties are in a bunch about this. I don't want to buy them.
I think another section of sex naming is this obsession with like virginity.
hmm
Urban Decay's got a virgin, and then Kylie Cosmetics actually has a barely legal and a virginity. I think those are both blushes, which also like what blush are you wearing? Oh, it's virginity. Like,
Uh,
no.
that's not the worst, but like I still don't want to. My line is like whether or not I feel comfortable telling someone what it's called, and like I don't like I just don't want to say that.
I think it really gets me also because like Urban Decay was founded by women. Kylie is, I mean,
A
Kylie, but
self-made
like also
billionaire,
still
Becca.
run by a woman. And like this whole obsession with like barely legal, with underage, with virginity, like it's not good for women.
Right.
And like, why are you naming products for women that? I
Yeah.
mean, not that you have to be a woman to wear makeup,
hmm
like anybody can wear it, but historically, makeup is marketed towards women. And like, it just stop hating yourself so much. Yeah. I guess Kat Von D's Lolita
Mm.
also fits into that. I mean, there's obviously a lot of problems with Kat as a human being, as a brand. Um, well, she's no longer part of the brand. It's now KVD Vegan Beauty. But that name, Lolita, is like a whole line of things now. And
It is.
people are really upset about it. It's a weird thing to promote, to name. It's weird.
And so the thing about that is I also feel like there's a good portion of people who don't know anything about the name Lolita other than it being a name. So half of the market that is buying these products doesn't really understand that it is a sex thing. More so just thinks it's like a name, a product, or a line. And then the other half that knows about it, I guess it's kind of just like us, where it's like, I wish you didn't do that.
Yeah. I mean, Lolita is not the reason that I don't support Kat Von D's existence on this earth. Like, that's not, that's like the least of her problems,
Yeah,
but it's still kind of cringy.
it is definitely a little cringy. It's not the worst on this list for sure. But you know what? She has a very good habit, bad habit. She's good at it, but it's a bad habit of naming things that are like sneakily terrible.
Sometimes not even that sneaky.
Yeah, no, some of them are just like very blatant. But the other one that we were going to talk about on here for her is Underage Red, which was a red liquid lipstick, which actually I've tried and I love it.
Yeah, it's not a bad
Um,
color.
it's a really good color. But she did justify this one on like a Facebook page rant, and I remember it, and I'm okay with the naming of this one. And this one doesn't make me want to like jump out of my skin when I have to say it.
This is a funny one because I think if you don't know her reasoning behind it, or like if it's not something that you can relate to, which we'll get into because I think it's something you and I have both related to, but like on its own, it's a pretty cringy, gross name.
Yeah, yeah, on its own, it's weird, definitely, but like still somehow better than Deep Throat.
Yeah. So Kat, I guess shortly after this came out and she got a bunch of like bad feedback or people were upset about it, she came out and said that this color is called Underage Red as like a callback to when she was a teenager and would wear red lipstick to try to look older so she could get into like 21 plus shows and concerts. And like, I totally get that
Yeah.
as a still in my 30s shitty punk kid. Like I get that. I get not being able to go to shows because they were 21 plus,
Yeah.
and I totally can relate to that like feeling and that memory of it. But there were so many better ways to convey that.
Yeah, for sure. And just on like a deeper level of naming things, if you have to get on and explain things, perhaps you should have thought it through a little better. Surrounded yourself with a few less yes people before going through with a name like that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think we actually have way more in our well, at least I have way more to say in our drug category. So
Yeah.
we've had the sex, let's move on to the drugs.
Yeah, no, I have things to say, but like I know that you will articulate it much better.
About the drug stuff?
Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts?
So my main issue with the drug stuff is just like the fact that they're turning the CBD into like, look how hardcore I am. I smoke weed. And it's just like, I don't need you to do that. Like, it doesn't, CBD is not pot for starters. Second
Yes.
of all, it doesn't need to be glorified as some like badass thing because it's on its way to being legal. And where it's not legal, don't glorify things. I don't know, just don't glorify it in like a edge lord kind of way.
Milk is pretty guilty of that. I actually quite like Milk makeup as a brand,
I love
but
milk
they
makeup.
they went hard with the CBD. I think their mascara has some in it, and it's called Kush, which is
Yeah.
like, I, and even my Smith and Colt
Yeah.
lip balm, like the packaging is very green.
So I also bought from Makeup Revolution, they have a CBD line, and I bought their setting spray. And I bought it because I really wanted to try a setting spray with CBD in it just to see if it would like do anything for the longevity of my makeup. But it's literally just covered in pot weed or pot leaves. And
Ugh.
it's just like, it's not, no one is any more or less badass from using it or from using drugs. And like, that is the issue in general when it comes to like drug names harder than pot.
I think specifically on the subject of CBD, it kind of takes away from any actual science backing the
Yeah.
use of the ingredient and makes it like I mean, not necessarily that like a trendy thing is a bad thing, but there could be like actual good scientific evidence to like back up using this in your products, and you're making it into like unnecessary drug thing. Like nobody's
Yeah.
getting high from CBD.
Exactly. And it's just like, sure, there's, CBD gummies and you can smoke CBD and it'll relax you or help your mental state. But don't take something that's medically helping people or something like that and turn it into like a, the drug glorification. You know who else does this? Melt. This isn't CBD. This is like straight weed. When they
Yeah,
released
no,
the
that
smoke
one they went hard.
sessions, they did. And they sent out PR packages with bowls in them. And like, I have nothing against pot. It just goes back to the look how hardcore I am thing. And it's just like, all right, calm down. Like, no.
It was just like another, this is great marketing in that everybody's talking about it. But also, like when Smoke Sessions came out, if it didn't have pot leaves stamped into each eyeshadow and like all over the cover of the palette, I actually might have bought it. Like the colors were really cool.
The colors were really cool. I actually had a couple of issues with that palette. They were mostly shimmer shades and like
Yeah.
two completely different color schemes. But I thought the one half, we've had this conversation a lot where I wish I could take half of every Melt palette and just like own those instead of all of them. But
They
yeah.
do tend to do like a solid split down the middle of their palettes of like two different things. But
Yeah.
anyway, Smoke Sessions is a great way to get into the, well, for me, what the bigger issue is in our
Yeah.
drug section is drug glorification in general. For those of you that don't know, before I moved to Texas, I was working for an adolescent residential facility. So it was like young teens, 13 to 17-year-old, who are in treatment for mental health and substance use assistance, help, recovery, getting, it was kind of like step one of
Mhm.
getting on track to like have a healthy and successful and sober life. And this stuff doesn't help.
It doesn't help at all. And it just, you don't make something that is such a big problem like addiction look like a edgy, oh my God, look how cool I am for owning this kind of thing.
Yeah. So Suva Beauty, who are mostly known for these really cool water activated like neon liners. This shade is called Acid Trip. It's like a super neon orange. And Urban Decay also has a shade called LSD. I think it's an eyeshadow. Uh, Urban Decay is, I think, one of the bigger offenders of this because they
Yeah.
literally have a white shade called Bump. And for those of you that don't know, Bump is like when you have a little top up of cocaine. That's not cool.
It's not.
But I can imagine being 16 years old and thinking that it was really cool.
Yeah, we didn't put them on the we did not put this one on the list because we don't even consider this brand just to begin with, but God, Jeffree Star.
I added him.
Oh,
I
did I
added
delete him?
one item. You deleted it. Okay, Jeffree Star is another one where, as a human being, there's much bigger problems than his crappy drug glorifying
Naming.
shade names.
But
However,
for today, we can talk about Drug Lord. And it's just an ugly white liquid lipstick. And it's like, that doesn't have to exist. And it definitely doesn't have to be called Drug Lord because there's nothing good about being a drug lord.
yeah, no, I'm not into that one. And while violence and violent related things like didn't make it as its own category today, he's pretty guilty of that also. He's got like a deep purple lipstick called Abused, and it's
That one's
basically like the color
terrible.
of a bruise.
I think I remember he got some pretty hard feedback on that one when it came out. Like everybody knew what he did, and no one was thrilled about that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's gross. And then Urban Decay also has a shade called Yayo, which is another word for cocaine. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah,
It makes Half Baked, which is another Urban Decay eyeshadow, seem like, I'm like, oh, ice cream. That's a Ben and Jerry's.
It's my favorite Ben and Jerry's flavor. But yeah, looking back at like Half
Dream
Baked.
is my jam.
Ooh. Thoughts on fish food?
That was my favorite as a kid.
That's mine and Devin's favorite. It's a split because we both agree on it.
Americone Dream is where it's at if you need Ben and Jerry's. They do these like slices now where they basically took the pint and like cut it, and then like it's basically like if Ben and Jerry's was like, let's compete with Klondike bars.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the Americone Dream one, which is Stephen Colbert's flavor, is so good.
Also they sell like straight cookie dough now, which is phenomenal.
Wait, what?
They sell like straight up cookie dough.
Like in just the cookie dough?
Yeah, like in the freezer section, you can buy edible cookie dough. I know.
I gotta go to the grocery store.
Anyway,
neither of us are on anything for this episode, just for clarification.
But Half Baked, like looking back in retrospect after Acid Trip, Drug Lord, Abused, Roach, Bump, not that bad.
Yeah, no, Half Baked is like, that's like a lovely normal name. It makes people think of the ice cream. Yeah, the drug glorification is one I have a big problem with because people our age are just like rolling our eyes at it. But then like the teenagers who are the most susceptible are like, oh my God, this is so cool. And it's really normalizing like a super horrible thing.
Yeah, I agree.
On that note, we will include phone numbers and contact information for substance use support lines in the actual listing and in our blog post.
Yeah, so it'll be in the show notes, blog post, and then also if you're watching this, it should be in the YouTube description as well.
Yes.
All right, so we talked about sex, we talked about drugs. We are not here to bring you rock and roll.
Yeah, no rock and roll. Let's talk racism. And there's a lot of it.
It is like out of control. The racism that not only gets called out, but that does not even get noticed on like a daily basis.
I think one of the things that we were really talking about, and we're going to get into this more, is that a lot of the time complexion products, whether it's like foundation or concealer, the lighter half of the spectrum will be called things like light and natural and fair or whatever. And then when you get into the darker shades, they're all named after like food.
Cappuccino, mocha, almond.
Chocolate.
Yeah.
I think at least you and I kind of agreed where like if you have a theme like that and it's consistent throughout the whole line, I think Huda Beauty actually does this well in that her foundation line, even though the foundation itself is not great, but they're all named after food. And I think if you're sticking to that across the board, that's okay. But when you just randomly start like othering half of the shade range, it's like, we notice that, guys. Brands who are listening, we notice that you're doing that. I think one of the biggest offenders of this, I can't believe this is in 2016. I like hunted down an article about this, but when ColourPop first came out with their sculpting sticks, which was basically like, I think it was like a twist up bronzer contour, whatever. The lighter shades were, I'm looking at it right now, were like Gummy Bear, Venice, Illuminati for some reason.
Another name that's just like, really, you didn't have to do that.
Castle, Adulting, weird names, whatever.
Yeah.
But the darker ones were called stuff like Yikes and Typo.
Oh, that is so bad.
What? Who, like, did you not talk to a single person who was not white in this
Right?
entire product launch? Get to market.
They threw names in a hat because there's really no consistent theme with that naming at all, but like it just gets so bad.
Yeah, one of the mid-range shades is called Often. Like, I don't know what direction they went in, but I don't understand how Yikes and Typo got like through production.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense when things like that happen. It's just othering. That you put it perfectly. It's othering darker skin tones.
Makes me rage. For those that are watching, or I guess for those that are not watching and are listening, I'm pretty light skinned. Tara, I mean, you're olive, you got that Latina blood, but like you're not super dark. Like it feels a little weird to be talking about things when they're not necessarily impacting us directly, but I think that makes us have more of a responsibility to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And like this is a weird example, but one of my friends loves the brand Tarte and Too Faced, both of the brands. And
Oh, what a combo.
and I do not like to even purchase from those brands because of their like history of stopping at dark or medium. And I feel like it is our responsibility to vote with our dollar, just as we've seen with Kat Von D, how we actually did make a change with that to not support brands that don't include everybody in their production line.
You're not wrong. And that I think it was Tarte that put out a foundation a couple years ago that was like 12 shades and 9 of them were various shades of light pink and then like
Um,
3 like maybe for you colored.
oh, yeah, it was I couldn't figure out if it was Tarte or Too Faced. So it was definitely Tarte. It was their Shape Tape, right? Everyone was like,
Yeah,
oh
it
my
was a
God.
Shape Tape foundation.
Everyone was like, the concealer, it's amazing. We love it. And then they're like, here's the foundation. Everyone was like, oh, yes, let's get it. And then they saw it and it was like 12 shades. And then it got worse. Do you remember? They were like, well, it's for the winter and everybody gets lighter in the winter.
Oh my God, I don't remember that.
Oh, you
I
don't remember
do
that?
I do remember them saying that like, oh well, we did these first and like the darker shades are coming, and it's like, what?
No, they literally justified it. They were like, well, everyone's more pale in the winter, so in the summer we'll have your darker shade. It's like,
Oh
forgot
God,
that.
I want to crawl out of my skin. That's awful.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's
worse than I remembered.
terrible. Yeah, they did it with like Glamour magazine or some kind of magazine. They were interviewed, and the person that they asked definitely like did not prepare for it, and they're just like thinking off the top of their head, and just was like the best they can come up with as to why they forgot an entire race of people in their foundation line.
I think I remember Alyssa Ashley maybe doing a video about it.
Her
How,
and Jackie Ina did a
yes.
video together.
All right, we'll have to find that and see if it's still up. We'll link it in the blog post.
Okay.
Um, all right, so we've got some other extra cringe ones. I'm gonna start with okay, this isn't the least offensive. They're all equally horrible.
They are, yeah.
But Mac had a collection a couple years ago called Vibe Tribe, and it was all very like Native American, indigenous like art on the
Mhm.
packaging. And I don't actually remember the product names because I saw the packaging and I like short circuited and was like, how another one of how did this make it to market?
So that's another one where we were talking about Lolita earlier, where I feel like there's a large population that doesn't realize that there's something wrong with that. Because if you look into other industries, like the wedding industry in particular has like bride tribe and things like that, where they all wear like matching t-shirts and like using the word tribe. There's a whole heck of a lot of people that are just like, whatever, that's cool, that's cute, and use like indigenous patterns and names and don't really recognize that there's something wrong.
Yeah, I know that those people exist. It just please remove tribe and spirit animal from your
Yeah,
regular vocabulary, people.
yeah,
Those are
that's just
not
one.
your words.
it's one that was bad, but I could see how it got past so many people that aren't the most informed or educated on the topic.
I think the thing that really got me with that one is that Mac is such a huge brand, and like surely it's not all white people on their like marketing team. If you're using somebody else's or another culture's stuff to make money, please check with somebody from that group of people first.
Yeah, I think every brand needs like one person who's just informed,
Yes.
politically basic skills on how not to offend people.
We need like a woke social justice analyst position on every brand
Right?
marketing
Can that
team.
just be a new position? Just the educator.
Yes.
Nothing goes through to production without consulting the educator.
Cultural analyst.
Yes.
On that note, Lime Crime. What you
This one
got
was
to say?
this one was before my time. I actually didn't know about this release until after probably like 2016 or 17. But yeah, one of their like first releases was the China doll collection, right?
Yeah, I think it was a palette. It was before I really knew about them too. And
Yeah.
I think like the palette itself was bad, but then like the
The
marketing and the
marketing.
advertisements were
Yes.
crazy. I know some of the defense for Lime Crime, they got bought out. Was that last year, I think?
Yeah.
So the owner who goes by Doe Deer, she's actually an immigrant. She's either Russian or Ukrainian. And um, Eastern Europe doesn't quite think about racism the way that the US
Mhm.
does. Not to say that it's an okay thing to do.
Right.
But again, like you were releasing that here, surely somebody said, I don't know about this one.
Hey, Doe. Not quite sure about this one. But yeah, that one somehow got through a lot of people. But did that one get a lot of flack when it was released?
I don't, I imagine that it did. Again, that was before my time, but I know it's something
Mm.
that people still bring up as like a
Yes.
part of the reason why they wouldn't support the brand until she basically
Left.
stepped down last year, and there's a new
Yeah.
CEO and they're owned by a different company now. But yeah, that was not a great one.
No. And I'm not saying that the next two are worse, because there's no gold medal for racism. But these next two are honestly part of the reason, I would say a large part of the reason why I don't think anyone should ever support Kat Von D in any venture she does in her entire life.
Yeah. You want me to explain the first one?
Take it away.
Oh God, my computer just had a freak out.
I saw it flash on
Whew.
your face.
Okay. So it was a lipstick, right?
Yes.
So a couple years ago, Kat Von D, really before I knew that she was actually a Nazi, um, came out with a liquid lipstick called Selection, spelled with a K. Um, that's like a very Holocaust-centric word, for lack of better terminology. It was the term used by Nazis to refer to like who they were choosing in concentration camps to kill.
There's no way she sat down at night and was just like, I thought of a new word. I'm going to spell this way. And like, she could not have come up with that and been like, oh my God, my mistake. Like, that was a choice. She
Yeah,
chose that name.
it's that word is like very connected to the whole like final solution of the Jewish people kind of thing. Um, that super impacts me.
Mhm.
I'm Jewish. I have lots of issues with this one. I know that she like her heritage is German, at least in part, but like that doesn't really. I
That
can't.
doesn't,
I just like can't process where she was going with this.
especially when you line up the things like her Nazi dating habits, and all of the other things that she's done. Those were all choices that she made, and so was this one.
If you knew that this happened at the time and you wanted to brush it off as like a one-off thing, please note that she's now married to a man who has a massive swastika tattooed on his throat.
Correct.
Between that and her extreme anti-vax stance,
Yikes.
I think actually the anti-vax is why people got so angry and is
So
a big
That
part of her being pushed out of her company, basically.
that riled up the troops, but then it also allowed everyone who knew everything else that she did to be like, hey, you're angry. Here's what else has happened. And everyone else was kind of just like, yeah, you know what? We're done.
I actually didn't know much of the other stuff. I used to be like a huge Kat Von D
Yeah,
fan. I was like,
same.
cool, there's a badass woman. She's covered in tattoos. She's a super successful businesswoman. And then she went and had to be a militant vegan anti-vaxxing Nazi.
Which I think, fun fact, her cat is vaccinated,
Yeah, of course it is.
but her child is not.
I know.
Yeah, so I also had that same issue where it was like not until the anti-vax stuff did I really know all of the other terrible things she did.
Yeah, I don't know. This
Mhm,
other one is not really any better. I'm not gonna say the full name because it's a slur, but
mhm.
it's celeb, as in celebrity, smashed together with the R word, implying somebody with developmental disabilities.
Yeah, so that one is terrible. I don't even know how that one got to production because that's one of those things where it's like universally agreed we do not say the R word.
Yeah, even like selection, which like to me, it's like an instant like visceral reaction. I can
Right,
understand how like maybe somebody doesn't know what that is, or
right.
especially in the US where like people don't know shit about the Holocaust. Seriously, it's horrifying. But
It's
like
terrifying.
I can't believe I'm saying this. I can kind of see how that made it to market. I
Right.
don't understand how this one did.
No, no. That's one of those things where it's like you don't say that word, and I just don't understand how that one got through like all of the people on her team. That one got pulled though, right?
Yeah, I think that one got pulled pretty quickly, and so did the other one.
Yeah. The other one didn't get pulled until somebody finally noticed though.
I think even I, like when that first launched, like I knew it made me uncomfortable, but again, I didn't know her background. I didn't know there
Right.
was like a long running history of just being anti-Semitic trash. And
Yeah. So those are terrible. They both have since been pulled. She's been pulled, thankfully, because like even if you just take the anti-vax stuff, she has too big of a platform to be doing what she's doing, and yeah, I'm just really glad that she is no longer part of the brand because I don't think she should profit off of her horribleness.
no, and not only is she no longer part, like she's not receiving anything. She's like completely separated from
Yeah,
it
she
now.
doesn't get royalties. She does not get any stock options or anything like that. She's gone.
People, use your wallet. Your wallet is just as loud as your voice.
So that one made me really happy that she's gone because it kind of did show like, hey, we voted with our dollar. Like Kendo, the brand that owns Kat Von D, saw like how much sales dropped after all the anti-vax stuff came out, and really did make a change, which is why people, I think it is important more now than ever to buy from KVD Vegan Beauty to show them that they made the right choice and that what they did actually did make a difference and that what we did made a difference. So that in the future, brands can kind of use them as an example to be like, you know what, if we remove the garbage person, maybe we can make a difference.
Yeah. I'm really hoping that they change the packaging soon. I realize that they
Yeah.
didn't trash like everything that was already made, but literally the day after she was out, I repurchased some stuff that I had like thrown out
Yeah.
um that was like on mega sale. And now I
Yeah.
have quite a couple
So
things.
I understand why they didn't throw it away. That would have been like such a waste.
Yeah.
But keep an eye out for your local Marshalls, TJ Maxx, and Home Goods because Kat Von D was kind of showing up there everywhere anyway because no one really wants to buy from the brand. But as soon as they make that switch to KVD Vegan Beauty,
Yeah,
all of
everything
this
is going
stuff
to be.
and like that, I'm like sitting back and waiting for it.
All right, so Kat Von D and Jeffree Star and their trash existences as humans could and probably will be an entire episode in and of itself. But
Yeah,
we have one
garbage
more
people.
gross one on the racism front. I didn't know about this one. I believe it's since been pulled off market, but there's a brand called Ben Nye. I think it's a bit more like artistry, maybe like stage makeup.
Yeah, like professional MUA.
But they had a shade called Minstrel Brown.
I did not know about that one either.
That is atrocious.
That is terrible.
They basically named the color blackface.
Yeah, that is I've
Yeah,
got nothing
like
for you.
I don't even know like what you can say. This is another how the hell did this make it to market product?
Yeah. It's just astounding the things that a boardroom of people or like even a marketing room of people either are willing to accept because they know what they've done and they're just like they think it's funny, or don't know at all. And either of those things are alarming, either not knowing what you've done wrong in like a racist way or knowing what you've done wrong and releasing it anyway.
Yeah, I don't actually know which one's worse. Well, on a lighter note, I think we've got some general cringe names that I know there's one in particular that you have some strong feelings about.
Well, this
That
is
is
the one that
not
started it.
it's not sex related, it's not drug related, and it's not racist. It's just really bad.
And it's certainly not rock and roll. What had happened, I think, did I say this in the beginning of the podcast when last week you asked me what my lip gloss was? It's the ColourPop So Glossy lip glosses, but the shade is
Yes.
called wait, what's the shade called? She's Here. And it's just like that has, it didn't do anything wrong other than just make me feel like stupider. Like I hate when brands have product names that, aside from racism, aside from sexist stuff, aside from drugs, just make me sound stupid when I have to tell someone what I'm wearing. It's just like don't do that. Like I wear makeup, but I went to college and I have an education, and like don't make me sound like a friggin' idiot.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of what am I trying to say? I've got a lot of feelings. Guys, I'm struggling here. Forgive me. I'm a pretty loud feminist. I'm like all into equality and women's empowerment and stuff. And like, I don't wear makeup for Nick. I don't wear makeup for other people. I realize that like societal pressures have maybe put that on me initially, but like, it's my fun thing now.
Yeah.
But like, we're already fighting against so many things that having cringy or just either sexist or racist or drug glorifying or just generally like not intelligent sounding names, like you're not making this easier for anyone.
No. It's just I hate feeling stupid for wearing makeup because it's not stupid. It's a way, it's a form of expression. It's a form of art. And like you just have to name things. Like we have a list of good names. Do you want to go through the good names?
Yeah, we did mention some of them, like if your theme is consistent across whether it's food or I think NARS and Becca both had some products where all of the shades in the product range were named after cities.
Yeah.
So like I'm into that. That's cool.
Yes. Yeah, same. And I had said Sugar Pill is really good at naming. Like their fun size palette is adorable, and none of the names are offensive. None of them make me sound stupid. They're all after gaming, which is cute. And then the single shadow is like flamethrower. It's a bright orange.
I agree. And I think, yeah, if you're consistent within your theme, whether it's food or like travel destinations, or in the case of the fun size palette, it's all like video game phrases like game over and stuff like that. Like that's really cute. It fits into its thing. I also think if it's just descriptive of the product, great. Flamethrower. I think Sugar Pill has the yellows like butter cupcake.
Yes, Buttercup, I think.
I can't remember.
The Buttercup? I don't know. But yeah, also Melt, because we did rip on Melt a little bit, but they overall have some really good names for their products. Like even the new one, you called me out on this one, but I like Millennial Pinks with the X at the end. I think it's cute.
It's cute. I was just kind of disappointed by the palette itself.
Oh, so disappointed by the color scheme, but I think like the pinks, it's adorable. I don't feel any stupider having said it.
I think they have some really cool product names in general. Like they came out with a 2 palette collection. One is Vida and one is Muerte, which is I think life and death. And then I have a couple of their lipsticks in. Hold on, what do we got? Oh, we didn't include these in the sex one, but I have Sext, which is SEXT, and then I have a nude shade from them, which is NOOD.
You know, their nudes collection was kind of not the greatest, but
it was like a whole collection, and I feel like
Yeah.
they kind of made fun of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't the worst. Like they didn't even scratch the surface of the list, but not the best, but they have some pretty good names. Like the Gemini palette's adorable. Their melt stacks are cute. The gunmetal.
Yeah, I feel like they haven't really had any major missteps besides the Smoke Sessions palette in terms of naming and branding of product.
Yeah. But yeah, there are really good product names out there. It's just the ones that are bad are really bad.
And Lime Crime's had some smarter choices as well. Like I think the Venus collection makes sense.
Yeah, big fan. And you know what? Anastasia Beverly Hills also is pretty good at naming things. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that's too cringy. Their soft glam palette is a very classic name. Modern Renaissance. All of those just feel elegant and convey what they are very well.
I feel like that maybe hasn't been the case as much recently, but that's more because
Yeah.
somebody else is pumping out the products, and I think Anastasia has taken a bit of a step back.
Oh, they have like an identity crisis right now. But classically, they have some
Yes.
pretty good.
Historically, I think ABH has done a good job with their product releases, and I think Hourglass too. They're like very ethereal and all sort of
Mhm.
mood and exposure and dim, and not really like they're describing the product. They're not just making random associations with it.
Yeah. All right. I think that is all we have time for today.
Yeah, I think we covered basically everything, whether we were supposed to or not.
Yeah, we apparently had a lot to say on this. It's just one of those things that like really grinds my gears and like just needed to get it out. But yeah, brand names really bother me. But yeah, that's all we have time for. If you want to check us out on social media, we are at Beautybirds Pod on Twitter. We are at Beautybirds Podcast on Instagram, and then we are also ourselves on Instagram at simply_terrible and at Becca and Eggs. We're on Facebook. You can check out our website at beautybirdspodcast.com where we post the episode. We post some notes and some links, and you can figure out where to stream us. But we are on Spotify. We are on iTunes, Google Play, Castbox, Stitcher.
YouTube.
If I missed YouTube.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
I
watch
think
us too. If you're wondering why we keep saying if you're watching or listening, you can totally catch us on YouTube if you want to look at our faces.
So yeah, that is where we are, and I want to see you there.
Thank you again to Born Again Pipple Rescue in Sherwood, Oregon for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check the show notes and our blog post for links to their website and to donate. And we'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Peace.
Bye.